Hello, everyone. The issues we are going to take in this Focus Weekly video from the module of IR Internal Security will be the things which were in the news. That is the issue of extradition and about Indo-US extradition treaty. There can be a question on extradition and about the important points on extradition in your pre-exam this year. So this issue is in the news as the convict of Mumbai attack is about to be extradited to India. So his appeal has been rejected by the US court. So there's a treaty that is the Indo-US extradition treaty, and what exactly is the extradition? We'll discuss more in this video. The second issue we are going to discuss is the dynamics of Indo-US defense ties. That despite the increased strategic and defense engagement with US, still there are areas on which we have challenges with US on our defense engagement. These points are important and relevant for mains exam. Third is the Iran's nuclear deal, and a very important organization in international context on which there can be a question in pre is IAEA, that is International Atomic Energy Agency. And fourth, again, as US now this time has voted against the UN resolution on Ukraine in the General Assembly. Again, there can be a question on UN organ General Assembly. So few important points will touch it again. It can be a kind of revision if you know already about the organ General Assembly and its functions. So as General Assembly is in the news, IAEA is in the news, Iran's nuclear deals and the extradition treaty, and the dynamics of Indo-US defense ties. We're going to explore on these topics. We are going to explore more on these topics in this video. Let's start our discussion with the first topic, that is the Indo-US extradition treaty. So when we are saying, first thing, in which context is in the news, as I just said, that is 2008 Mumbai terror attack accused Tawwur Hussain Rana, his extradition to India. So important only from the P point of view that whether we have an extradition treaty with US, yes, we have. And what exactly is extradition? So there can be a point-based question about extradition. So he filed an emergency application that his life will be under threat if he will be sent to India. Okay. But his application has been rejected by the US Supreme Court. So he will going to be extradited on the basis of the treaty which is there between India and US, which was signed in 1997. So India and US have a extradition treaty. Okay. So what is extradition? It's the official transfer of a person from one country to other, like from US to India. Now, once he will be transferred, his authority will shift in the hands of the Indian government. Okay. So formally, handling the authority of a person to the other country's authority is extradition. In which scenario a person can be extradited? First, there needs to be an extradition treaty between the two countries, and only those person can be transferred if they are accused of a crime in the country to which he is to be delivered. So he should be accused of a crime or a convicted criminal. So our law courts should have convicted him or convicted that individual a criminal. Only then that individual can be extradited. So the crime for which person can be transferred needs to be a crime under the law of the country which is transferring the person. So if we are demanding Rana based on some crime, that crime needs to be seen as a crime by the government of US also. In that scenario only, that country will going to extradite. Let's say if we have extradition treaty with another country, let's say Bangladesh or UK, and we have convicted someone for a crime, but this crime is not a crime under the legal juridical system of that country, then that individual can't be extradited. So that crime needs to be seen as a crime under the judicial system of that country also, which is transferring. Okay. So we have extradition treaty with many countries in the world. There's no need to remember the list. Important is to know what exactly extradition means. Okay. In which scenario he can be transferred, and that crime has to be listed as a crime under the legal juridical system of that country too. So we have extradition treaty, which was signed in 97. Exceptions, political offenses are not seen as, for political offenses, no one can be extradited. But certain actions against the head of the government, aircraft hijacking, internationally protected person, crime against violence against diplomats are outside the ambit of political crimes. Otherwise, for committing political crime, for uh, let's say out of let's say political vendetta, you cannot extradite the leader of the opposition. So political offenses are not extraditable, but few crimes are outside the ambit of political crimes. Okay, extradition is barred. You cannot send a person if that person is convicted for the same offense in that country also. Okay. So in that case, that country can deny extradition if that person is convicted for the same offense in that country too. So if Rana would have been convicted for the charges of terrorism in US too, then US can deny the extradition. Okay, so these are the factual facts you should know about the issue of extradition and the prevailing Indo-US extradition treaty. So this much information is more than enough for pre-point of view. Okay. So let's move to the second topic, that is the dynamics of Indo-US defense ties. So the next topic is the dynamics of Indo-US defense ties, and a lot of push has been given towards our defense engagement with the recent visit of the Prime Minister to US. Now the thing is, the way our defense ties are strengthening with US, a wrong notion can be emerged that US has displaced Russia as the closest defense ally of India. Okay. It will be a wrong notion to hold that if our defense ties has become very strong with US, it has not already weakened our defense engagement with Russia. So there are so many points which we can substantiate, which we can write to substantiate this aspect that Russia is still a trusted defense partner of India. Yes, the dynamics of Indo-US defense ties are changing at a very fast pace since the signing of COMCASA agreement, Logistic Memorandum Exchange Understanding Agreement, LEMOA, and BECA. Not going into the detail about these defense agreements through which we're going to get the best of the technology. Okay, US has tagged India as the closest defense ally outside NATO. And now in the recent time, US is ready to share that kind of equipments and materials which US only shares with its NATO ally. All these points clearly reflects this aspect that yes, US is looking towards strengthening its defense and strategic ties with India and wants to tap the billion-dollar defense market of India. We are not denying this aspect. Before telling you this, now at present, India has three main aspirations, or there are three main objectives which India wants to fulfill through its foreign policy at present, or India is pursuing three main aspirations. These three main aspirations of India in the present times are aspiration of achieving the objective of $5 trillion economy. Second, indigenization of defense capability. Now, indigenization of defense capabilities is one of the major objectives of India at present. And third is the permanent membership in UNSC. Okay, just achieving the permanent membership will not going to strengthen India's power credential if we are dependent on other countries for our defense needs. Okay, there's a term called net security provider. So India is aspiring to play the role of a net security provider in Asia Pacific region. And to achieve this objective, indigenization of our defense capabilities is must. Okay, so to fulfill the aspiration of becoming a net security provider, India needs to indigenize its defense capabilities. Now, towards the objective of indigenization, to fulfill the objective of indigenization, India is demanding technology transfers. Okay. And Russia has never shown any inhibition to share its technology, while a lot of inhibitions from US to share its technology, as US by and large wants to maintain the buyer-seller relationship. So what kind of relationship US want? Buyer-seller relationship. While Russia has always been more than willing to share us technology. So towards the objective of indigenization, still Russia, out of two, Russia is very important in our scheme of things. First thing. Also, there are so many different types of weapons which only Russia can provide us. Okay, still Russian defense industry provide such weaponry which India has always looked forward to. Like one of the weapon system is S-400. Okay, air defense system. So India is acquiring S-400 weapon system from Russia. With Russia, we have reached to the level of joint collaboration. And through joint collaboration, we have produced a cruise missile that is BrahMos, supersonic cruise missile. We are still very far from achieving the objective of or reaching to the level of joint collaborations with US. We have started talking in terms of going for joint collaborations. Okay. So a lot of inhibitions from US towards technology transfer. Still, there is a lot of so many different type of weaponry which only Russia can give to us, and we have reached the level of joint collaboration, and more than 60% of our defense arsenal is Russian. So for their maintenance, for their spare parts, for equipment, we are still largely dependent on Russia. So it is a wrong notion to hold that US has displaced Russia as the closest defense ally. No, with US, our defense engagement is expanding. And few of the hiccups are, first, that we demand technology transfer, inhibitions from US. Then support from US. US is not that willing to share technology. Okay. Second, support from US comes with a lot of conditionalities imposed. While Russian support has come without conditionality. So as US puts conditionality, there is always a fear of this particular aspect, that how much we can afford to increase our dependence on US. Because any day, US can impose sanctions on us. Okay. So our trust on Russia is very strong. So US support comes with conditionalities. Like on one side, US offered us COMCASA and COMSEC equipments. On the other side, US threatened us with CATSA sanctions. If you will not cancel your S-400 deal from Russia with Russia, will put you under CATSA sanction. Though later US gave us waiver, that's a different that can be a different line of discussion. We are not going into that today. So US support comes with a lot of conditions. If we'll increase our dependence on US companies, in future there can be tensions between India and US can impose sanctions, and US private players, because most of the defense entities are private entities, they will not be able to support us. Okay, they will not be able to give us maintenance and spare parts, which can hurt India's defense preparedness. So always there's a big question mark on in front of our defense experts, that how much we can afford to increase our dependency on US, as US support comes with conditions imposed. It can undermine our sovereignty, as it will increase our dependence on US. That is why India demands technology, so that our future dependence on US should come down. At least give us technology for maintenance and spare parts, so that in future we should not have to seek their support for defense preparedness. We do not have these issues with Russia. Russia gives us technology, and Russia's condition support comes without conditionalities. Okay. US still, we are not being able to reach to the level of joint collaborations. It's more of a buyer-seller relationship. Okay. So these are the challenges which prevails in our engagement with, in our defense engagement with US. Another minor factor is India demands a lot of customization of equipments, considering to the diverse physiographic needs of our army. Because the terrain in which we have to use these equipments is different, can be different from US. So we have to use that defense equipment from minus 50 degree to plus 50 degree, from Ladakh to Thar. Okay. So we demand a lot of customization. Now, Russians, French, and Israel, they had a long history of defense engagement with us. So they understand our needs in a better way. And US with US, we have just started our defense engagement post Cold War. So they are not that comfortable in listening to our demands and needs. And our defense personnel feels more comfortable in engaging with Russians rather than with US. So these are the hiccups which are there between India-US defense styles. Okay. Yes, our collaboration is increasing at a very fast pace. We have reviewed arm transfer regulatory regime. Okay. So there are issues of technology transfer. This is a very specific challenge, challenges in fighter aircraft procurement. Because we already operate highly diverse fleet of Russian origin, Sukhoi, MiG, Rafale, Jaguar, and our own indigenous Tejas. Now F-35, the US aircraft, would require adjustment, training, maintenance, infrastructure, and weapon compatibility. So this is the another challenge which is emerging as India has agreed to procure F-35. Okay. So it is always a concern that how much we can keep our dependence intact on others, because it will undermine our autonomy. Okay. France agreed to give us technology while a lot of inhibitions from US to share technology. Also, US conditions always comes with US support comes with condition, like one of the condition end user monitoring agreement, so that US can come and inspect its military equipments even after sale. And it's a clear delusion of our sovereignty. So these are the concerns and the challenges which are still prevailing with our defense engagement with US. So India do not want to increase its dependence on US. India wants to diversify its defense needs. And in the end, India is looking forward to indigenize, and that is why India is demanding technology. Okay. So I hope this discussion would have helped you to understand that US is still not the closest defense partner. Yes, our defense engagement has increased drastically with US in the recent times. Okay. In 2020, there was a question in me, what is the significance of Indo-US defense deals over Indo-Russia defense deal? Discussed with reference to stability in the Indo-Pacific region. So it was in the context of Quad also. At that time, it was in the news, and this discussion revolves around the LAMOA, okay, agreement, which I said, because at that time, three main agreements were signed, that is COMCASA, BECA, and LAMOA. So in that context, this question was asked. Okay. It is not asking exactly what are the challenges, but anyway, there can be a question in your mains revolving around this particular discussion, which we have just did. That is the challenges in Indo-US defense engagement. So let's shift to the next topic of our discussion. So it is about Iran's nuclear weapon program and about an organization called IAEA. Okay. Now, In its recently released report, IAEA is saying that Iran has increased its enriched uranium, means uranium which can be used as a weapon grade fuel, uranium which can sustain chain reaction. And IAEA has warned that time is running out of diplomacy and we need to impose new restrictions on Iran. And US President Trump has announced that we are going to pressurize Iran further over its nuclear program. So, before I tell you more, what you need to understand is, now I'll tell you a few things. Like, I'm, if you are aware of this, that there's a treaty called NPT, Non-Proliferation Treaty. Okay, signed in 68. And NPT recognized 5 countries as nuclear weapon states. And these 5 are the permanent members in the world, permanent members in UNSC holding veto: US, UK, France, Russia, and China. China was the 5th one to acquire nuclear weapon. And after that, NPT came into picture. And according to NPT, those who acquired weapon till 67 will be seen as the legitimate nuclear weapon state. Rest all countries in the world are seen as non-nuclear weapon states. So what is their status is non-nuclear weapon state. Now, among non-nuclear weapon states, the first country who acquired weapon was India. As India tested in 74, after this Israel, Pakistan, and North Korea. So there are 9 countries on paper in the world who hold a nuclear stockpile, okay, or who hold nuclear weapons, okay, but they are seen as non-nuclear weapon state. And when India tested in 1974, went for its first weapon test, the world countries, especially P5, they felt that proliferation has taken place in the world. Despite having NPT into picture, nuclear proliferation has taken place. NPT's objective is to stop horizontal proliferation, means other countries should not acquire weapons, right? So they felt threatened. And for this, a grouping was created, that is NSC, Nuclear Supplier Group, in 1974. And NSG is a grouping of countries who have technology to construct nuclear power plants, equipments for the construction of nuclear power plants, and countries having uranium. And NSG members decided we will give support to any country towards the generation of energy through nuclear energy only if that country signs NPT. Okay, so NSG will support the nuclear program, that is the civilian nuclear program for energy generation of a country, only on the assurance that they will sign NPT. And signing NPT means country, the leadership of that country projects that they are not aspiring for nuclear weapon. They only want to use nuclear technology for energy generation, which can help them in their growth, because energy is prerequisite for growth. Okay. And it is much cheaper. Generating energy through nuclear technology is much cheaper. The per unit cost of electricity generation is much cheaper than by other means. So this is the motivation among the countries to sign NPT, to fetch support from NSG. But the issue is, if NSG will give support for civilian technology, which technology they will give? Civilian technology. They will help them in constructing nuclear power plant. But nuclear technology is dual use. If you are getting technology for civilian use, you can channelize it covertly for enrichment of uranium. Means you can channelize it for military purpose. Now, how will we sure about this? That the technology and the energy which is being given for civilian use should not be channelized for military purpose. For this, there is an organization called IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. It stands for, its motto is Atoms for Peace. This is the slogan of the IAEA, that nuclear technology to be only used for peaceful purpose. Okay. Its headquarters is in Vienna. was constituted in 56. Now, it will be the responsibility of IAEA and its officer to track the nuclear program of that country and make sure that technology should not be used for military purpose. Now, Iran is a signatory of NPT. Signatory of NPT means commitment that will not use for, will not acquire, will not go for enrichment and will not go for acquiring nuclear weapons. But as per the recent reports and the US conviction and belief, Iran wants to acquire weapons. And Iran is not, being a signatory to NPT, it is mandatory they should give access of their nuclear program to the officers of IAEA, which Iran is denying, and Iran is not giving access of its plants to IAEA. Okay, so this is the issue. And Iran is not allowing the access of its nuclear program to IAEA. The reason US imposed sanctions on Iran. Okay, now dynamics change under the Obama administration when US and other 5 countries known as P5+1, that is the Germany. When these 6 countries signed an agreement called JCPOA with Iran, Joint Comprehensive Partnership of Agreement, and this agreement was signed by the Obama administration in 15. Okay, known as Iran's nuclear deal. Under this, Iran gave commitment that will not go for enrichment, will give access of my power plants to the IAEA, and US promised to lift sanctions from Iran. Okay. So under this deal, Iran promises will cut down enriched uranium, allow officers of IAEA that we are not doing anything indiscreet, and West will lift sanctions, right? This is what I just told. But in his last tenure, Trump unilaterally decided to come out of JCPOA. It was a unilateral decision. And US came out of JCPOA blaming Iran for not fulfilling its commitment. This is what US president blamed. Though other 5 members out of P6, one became US, other 5 members were they criticized US president for this particular unilateral decision of coming out of this deal and bringing Iran back under sanctions. There is a big geopolitical issue prevails behind that, which is not that relevant for us for the time being. So Trump blamed Iran that Iran is still aspiring for its nuclear program, and that's why he came out of JCPOA and bring Iran back under sanctions. Okay. And since then, there are a lot of tensions between US and Iran is under the sanctions of US, blaming Iran that Iran is aspiring for enrichment of uranium, and the present report of IAEA is about this only. And US president has said that if diplomacy will not work, they probably have to use coercion to counter Iran's program. This is the science. Uranium has 3 isotopes, and in abundance in the world is 238, but it is not fissionable. Fissionable one is 235. That is why original uranium needs to be enriched into this isotope so that it can sustain chain reaction. Okay. Now, so as I already told, this is very important agency which is there in the world. Its objective is to promote the peaceful use of nuclear energy. I said 1956. No, it is 1957. Okay. Important thing to remember is it's an autonomous international organization within UN system. So it is not a UN agency. It is a related organization of UN, a related autonomous organization. Okay. So it is not a UN has organs, UN has agencies, and UN has programs. So it is neither the organ, it's neither agency, it is a related organization, and that too autonomous. Though its reports can be seen both by General Assembly and Security Council, 180 members. Important fact to remember, and very important is India is its member since its inception, 1958. Okay, so India is a member of IAEA, and India decided not to sign NPT. This question once asked by UPSC in pre. So India decided not to sign NPT. As India didn't sign NPT, so India's nuclear program was beyond the ambit of IAEA. Our nuclear installations were not under IAEA till 2008. Okay. So despite we being member of IAEA, as we decided not to sign NPT, we didn't give access to the IAEA inspectors of our program. But in 2008, we got the waiver from NSG that despite not signatory of NPT, India can go for nuclear trade with NSG states. And after that, India separated its civil program from military program. And since 8, our civil program is under the ambit of IAEA. So that is why it is important to remember you do not have to be a signatory to NPT to be a member of IAEA. Without signing NPT also, you can be a member of IAEA. Its headquarters is Vienna, Austria. Okay. So this is a very important organization on which UPSC can ask a question anytime. Okay. And the last topic of our discussion is regarding UN General Assembly. Factual aspect to know. Okay. In which context, as US has voted against the UN resolution on Ukraine war. Okay. So despite US giving strongest support to Ukraine, we all know sudden U-turn by US, okay, on Russia-Ukraine war. So this time US has voted against the UN resolution, which has been brought against Russia by the Europeans. Let's discuss this. US has voted against the UN resolution where? In General Assembly. So when we say UN as a organization, it has three main parts, that is organs, agencies, and programs. The five main organs of UN General Assembly: Security Council, International Court of Justice, Economic and Social Council, and UN Secretariat, headed by Secretary General. The functions of all these organs always important from exam point of view. Okay. Here it is written, it is one of the 6 principal organs. There used to be 6, but now UN has 5 organs. You can take it as a homework, which used to be the 6th organ. Okay. So UN Security Council, the main difference between General Assembly and Security Council is Security Council only deals with the issues of peace and security. And another important point to know is, who will decide if there is a confusion that whether this issue is an issue of peace and security or not? UN Secretary General. So it will be the decision of the Secretary General, which will tag any issue that whether this is the issue of peace and security or not. And in UNSC, you can only take the issues of peace and security. UNSC has 15 members, 5 permanent and 10 non-permanent members. While every member state in the world is a member, every country in the world is a member of UN. So in the world, there are 193 countries. And every country becomes a member. Can there be new countries in the world? Yes. So a territory, an entity can become a new country if it will get a support of 2/3 members of General Assembly. So by getting the support of 2/3 members of General Assembly, an entity can become a country in the world international system or in the world system. Okay. All member states have one vote. There are entities who have observer status. They are not the member. The difference between a country holding the difference between being a member of UN and holding an observer status is that member states have voting right. While those who have just observer status, they can have access to UN agencies. They do not have voting right yet. For example, Palestine. So Palestine holds observer status in UN since 2012, and Palestinians are demanding the status of a statehood or status of a country. If two-third member countries of General Assembly will support the statehood for Palestine, then it will become the new country in the world, that is 194th country in the world. Okay. So right now we have 193 countries. It can be your homework, which was the 193rd country in the world. So what are the, it passes UN budgets. So it elects the non-permanent members of Security Council, as there are 5 permanent and 10 non-permanent. So it elects non-permanent members of Security Council, who General Assembly, and non-permanent members are elected for 2 years. It can also be, take it as this also as homework. How many times India has been elected as a non-permanent member of Security Council since independence? And last time when India served as a non-permanent member in UNSC. It also appoints the Secretary General. Who elects the Secretary General? General Assembly. Okay. Who? So Secretary General elected by General Assembly. Non-permanent members elected by General Assembly. Judges of ICJ are elected by General Assembly. UN budgets are decided by General Assembly. All major functions are performed by General Assembly, except the first, the issue of peace and security will be raised in Security Council. And if Security Council will not be able to take any decision on the issue of peace and security, then it can be raised in General Assembly. For example, Europeans has brought a resolution against Russia and Ukraine in General Assembly. So it's not like this General Assembly cannot discuss the issues of peace and security. It can. Okay. And who elects the new members? Who elects the, rather than saying elector, who that support of whom is required for a territory to become a state? Support of two-third members of General Assembly is required to become a state in international system. So in this manner, General Assembly performs the widest range of functions within UN as an organ. Okay. This is not that important, I guess. So this much you should be well aware of about the General Assembly, as General Assembly is in the news. But it is not mandatory that there can be a question only on General Assembly. There can be on ICC, there can be on UNSC, there can be a question on ICJ. And in the last video, we have discussed about ICC and the difference between ICC and ICJ. So these organizations which are in the news, for sure, what I can predict is there will be questions this year in your pre-exam. They can be on ICC, ICJ, General Assembly, and IAEA. So just keep these things in your mind and do revise before you go for your pre-exam. These things are important. We'll see what can be the new things which can be in the news for the next week, and we'll resume this discussion for you. Just keep listening, and I think these videos will be more than enough for you to address any of your questions which will be there in your pre-exam. Bye. Take care. Best wishes.